One person who may have probably will have a big part to play in all of this, someone who's already settled, I'd like to think, in Germany now, and that's Harry Kane. He's in the papers today.
Yeah, the Guardian's headline, he's one of our own, how and why Germany has taken Kane to its hearts. So Christian Falk's essentially writing that whilst Harry Kane's become the butt of jokes here in the UK, making Bayern Spursy, we see Jason Cundy and Jemmy R having a good laugh about that on the Sports Bar. Actually, he's really endeared himself to the people of Germany, and there's this sort of really lovely anecdote from Musiala talking about Kane, and he says, I think Kane really likes German food in particular. His favourite dishes are schnitzel's pretzel bread with salami. And then Falk writes, maybe that says a lot about Kane. He's the top earner at Bayern with a salary of 24 million a year, yet his favourite food costs only 90 cents at the bakery. These are the stories the Germans love. And so I guess it's quite nice that, obviously there is this historic rivalry between England and Germany, but to have Harry Kane as England's sort of representative out in Germany, couldn't really think of a better bloke about, in terms of his character, his leadership. And I guess really, look, Harry Kane is world class, nobody can deny that, but does playing in another league, does being the Europe's top goal scorer, I think he got 44 in 45 games, does that just add another string to his bow? The fact that he's played with a different crop of players in a different environment, in different league. Harry Kane's world class anyway. He's talismanic for England with the goals he scores, arguably, but the fact that he's played in another league, do you think that can potentially give England another edge as England fans look for reasons to hope that this could be the time that they win something?
Well, Matt, you'd like to think that when he was thinking about going to Bayern, he was also thinking the Euros are in Germany the first year I'm there. If I can do as much as I can to become a better player and give myself a better or bigger opportunity and it's only small margins, of being a player that could affect the Euros for England this year, I think it'd have been part of his thinking. Of course it would have. And it makes him more of a complete player. I mean, he's the best player I've ever seen that hasn't won anything. And I'm sure someone listening will probably tell me of some player that's never won a thing, but I can't think of one that's as good as him that hasn't won anything.
I think what's really interesting as well in that piece is they talk about the German Super Cup at the start of the season when they lost to RB Leipzig, and their what was his title? I'm just trying to see. Sports director at the time for Leipzig, Max Erbel, was saying about Harry Kane, I think it's almost too much that Kane is being burdened with here. It's like a messiah walking on water. So he was obviously trying to say, like, it's not going to be that easy for him to walk into the Bundesliga. And yet he ended up becoming only the third Bundesliga player to win the Golden Shoe for Europe's top scorer, having previously achieved this feat, the likes of Gerd Müller and Robert Lewandowski, kind of showing that, and they were saying in this paper that he earned sympathy from German fans, that he was the top scorer and yet didn't win anything.
No. And do you know what? If you ask Bayern today, how do you think Harry's done in his first year in Munich? They'd be absolutely delighted, wouldn't they?
Absolutely.
A B+, you might say.
And I think it's quite nice as well that England captain is in a country where there's less pressure on him, and even the fact that the sporting director there is almost trying to say, look, give him time. It's going to take time. Yeah. Perhaps that's going to add to his mentality. We're all aware of how sort of difficult it can be to be a football player with the press attention in this country in particular. Perhaps being separate from that for a year, ingratiating himself in a different culture and in a new country, perhaps that can give him an edge. It's great
to have a new challenge as well. Yeah. A lot of people can say, perhaps later on, I should have done this, I should have played abroad, I should have experienced something new. And it's quite easy for us to all coast and just be happy where we are and not ever want to experience anything else because we're too afraid to. So I think it's great that he's done it, and hopefully it's going to benefit England.
Where are we going next now?
Well, should we talk about the team that you are looking at? We're very intrigued by Portugal.
Yes. I mean, I would say France, England and Portugal have the most flair. But if you go through Portugal's team, especially in forward areas attacking, they're unreal. They've got so much ability in their forward line.
Be interesting to see, the role that Ronaldo plays, and just to see how he fits into European tournament, having been out in Saudi Arabia for a long time. will sort of, it's Roberto Martinez, isn't it? You know, is he going to sort of come? You know, is he going to be at odds with Ronaldo at any point? Will he start him every game as the sort of they get into the latter stages of the tournament? Is he going to be fit enough? I think that's going to be fascinating to see sort of how what will likely be Ronaldo's final tournament.
Well, he's not the statesman, is he, in the Portugal team?
Well,
Pepe is.
Well, at 41, this is a great segue into the Telegraph's piece about Chris Bascom writes about Euro's biggest wind-up merchants, and 41-year-old Pepe is number one. Now, I have to read what he's got to say about Pepe. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So Bascom writes, there should no longer be criticism of Pepe's capacity to torment strikers with his cunning fouls, wild accusations of diving and compelling pleas of innocence after being caught in the act, which can appear so pervasive. Donald Trump's defence lawyers should study his highlight reel. And so we've got Pepe at number one, but interestingly at number three, Bascom just gives number three to the entire nation of Italy. So he's saying here,
well, that's the two centre halves, isn't it?
Italy have only themselves to blame for springing instantly to mind as they wear that reputation like a badge of honour. And so it's going to be interesting to see those wind-up merchants at play.
Is Ramos in there?
No, Jude Bellingham is. Jude Bellingham's number 5, Rodri 6, John McGinn 4. And so, I think Jude Bellingham's quite a good shout, actually. You know, you see some of his highlights at Madrid. You know, he's got that swagger, hasn't he? And even in the Champions League semi-final against Bayern Munich, when Harry Kane's taking his penalty, and he's giving Harry Kane an earful. So we've got Jude Bellingham at number 5, Rodri at 6, who supposedly gets 1 yellow card for every 6.8 fouls. And so we got lots of interesting statistics about, you know, the biggest wind-up merchants. But of course, Pepe, and the picture, obviously, we can't see it on the radio, is essentially of him kicking a player in the face. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in the tournament.
Interesting how this list that they've come up with. And as you say, I mean, some people would even potentially, we're talking about just dark arts, not wind up, but dark arts. Yeah. Some people would suggest Harry Kane should be up there with some of the penalties that he wins.
Yeah.
But just for that reason, listen, you know, going into this tournament, people will be saying, do whatever you have to do, Harry Kane, but a lot of people will get annoyed by some of the things we see from him on the pitch sometimes. I'm just sort of surprised if you're going down the dark arts route that perhaps he's not featuring on there for that reason.
But he's nailed on Pepe at number 1, though, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, as an England fan, infuriating to watch. But when he's not playing against a team that you have sort of vested interest in, I think it's classic football, isn't it? Classic centre-back play.
The Michelangelo of the dark arts, Pepe. Brilliant. Max, that's it. That's all we have time for.
Cheers, Max.
Thanks very much, guys. Have a lovely weekend.
Us this morning. Yes, you too. Great to have you with us.
Was ist das? talkSPORT?